Hello, gorgeous Virgo family. Welcome to November 2019. It was wild, you all. I had this idea that I was going to be talking to other signs, other energies today, and you all just kept coming up in my heart. I have a Virgo moon, so it's not like you all over there. I'm deeply connected to you all. You are family to me, energetically speaking. We're all connected here. But it's interesting, I'm not a Virgo sun and I don't have a ton of Virgo placements. And so when Virgo energy comes and speaks to me loudly like this, I always pay attention. And the thing with this month is, for some reason, the message is coming through like, make sure you're honoring and nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself so that you can be all these big, bold things. You have to value yourself the way you would value a small child that you're taking care of or somebody that you would love, right? You want that person to have a nutritious meal and to get enough sleep, and you really care that they feel okay, right? And sometimes I think we forget to skip that conversation we have with ourselves when it comes to the nurturing, when it comes to the softness, when it comes to turning that caring, giving energy in toward ourselves. At Virgo, you are important. It matters that you're taking care of yourself. It matters that you are slowing down enough to hear that. And it's not always about the checklist. I know we talk about the checklist a lot. And yes, this is a message for myself as well. We have our goals, we have our ambitions, we have our daily to-dos that we need to get done. And yet, none of that matters if we're not feeling like we are whole within ourselves. And so that message was coming across really strong. Let me start shuffling cards. And as I do that, we will talk through these transits, because we have energy starting to move into your fourth house. For you, the two houses that are going to get lit up are your third house and your fourth house this month. There's a lot of energy moving through Scorpio and Sagittarius, especially if you're Virgo rising. But even if you're a Virgo sun or moon, you're going to be noticing this is where you're getting hits of energy, right? Venus is moving into Sag, fellow mutable fire sign, or mutable sign. On November 1st, we have Venus moving into your fourth house. So, where your passion, where your love is. Eight of Swords. I love that card. It's one of my favorite energies to start a reading off with, actually. The big ticket item this month, of course, though, is that on the eve of October 31st, we have Mercury going retrograde in Scorpio. That's your third house of communication, and Mercury is the planet of communication. So you may be finding, it's going until the 18th of November, so it's about a 3-week transit. And then, of course, we have the post-shadow phase as well. But your voice is getting refined. Nine of Swords. See, and these are very, word, language, thought-based energies, right? Swords energy is about how we're thinking, our thought processes. And when we get pulled into Eight of Nine of Swords, we are refining and molding our thoughts and looking at what's no longer serving us, right? And what's no longer working for us anymore in our lives and what we want to be doing and who we are now. Eight of Swords, Nine of Swords. Okay. But yeah, Mercury going retrograde in Scorpio takes us to a really deep place, and I've been noticing with the Mercury retrogrades in water signs, it takes our vital energy down a lot lower. Maybe that's more true for fire signs, but I think in general what that's doing is it's making us sit with our emotive processes. And for you all, like I said, it's hitting on your short-term plans, the way you think and move through the day. Mercury is your ruling planet as well. So there's something going on here with letting go of those old narratives. And part of that, and the core, the kernel of that, is this nurturing, the self-nurturing, remembering that you're sacred, not skipping that step every time. Because you may be noticing with this Eight of Swords and this Nine of Swords that when you're really looking at your day-to-day life and the way you interact and the way you think about your projects, are you skipping over yourself every time? Because in this reality right here, it's like that. There's no way that matters that much. Yeah. Everybody knows that I exist. It's not that special. Even if you are a self-loving person, even if you are confident and positive, sometimes we miss that nurturing, the self-nurturing, right? And that's what I keep hitting into. So Mercury retrograde takes our vital energy down. It's going to want to, because it's in a water sign, it's going to want us to connect in emotively. It's not about the external world. It's about what we're doing in here. So Mercury retrogrades, like in water signs, are really intense, like I said. We have a full moon in Taurus on the 12th, so fellow earth sign. That's your big visionary full moon. And it's going to ask you not to look at the small details, but to look at the bigger picture. And that's part of what this watery Mercury retrograde is doing as well. Chariot, love it, love it, love it, love it. There's that vision, right? It's not about the little day-to-day short-term communication information that's coming in for you in November. It's about the big picture. It's about the long-range vision. It's about the long-term plans. And you may be finding you're getting really big hits of energy on that. Two of Wands. You can see how we quickly clear from that kind of blindfolded, uncertain mental space of the Eight and Knight of Swords straight into visionary energy, right? So you may be finding the very beginning of this month feels very overwhelming and scary. Judgment, release, right? Healing. Judgment is a huge healing card, and so is Chariot. These are, oh, the Lovers wanted to come out too. All right, I'm loving it. Loving this energy, you all. So this month, yeah, may start off feeling a little overwhelmed, a little scary. But then it quickly, Four of Pentacles, it quickly morphs into a month of expansion. However, because we're working with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and we're working with the Sun in Scorpio, and we're working with Mars moving into Scorpio on the 19th, and then of course we're starting to move into Sag season, which is your 4th house. These energies and the way that they work are going to Seven of Pentacles. Okay, there's some assessment going on here. We're going to stop right there. The way that your visionary energy is coming in, it's not working the way it has in past years. It's just not, and that's been happening for Virgos for a few months now. But you know, we've gone past your birthday season now. We're in a new season of life now, and things are working a little differently. And part of your journey this month is trusting the different way this works. You know, you're learning new skills in the way you pick up information, and we're not talking about practically in the day-to-day or in your job skills. We're talking about at a soul level here. When we're on the leading edge, where there's resistance goes away. There's no resistance there, and it can be alarmingly quiet when things are working in functioning in a way that is good for us. And that's what's going on here. So we start off the month with some anxiety, right? Some fear, some worry. Maybe you know that you're taking a big leap of faith, or that you're really wanting or desiring something, but you're mystified as to how all those little details are going to get sorted. And you want to have the details sorted today, and you're not getting those hits of details sorted. Maybe things will slow you down, make you rest in your body, not give you the next step right away. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, can we just get moving on this? Why isn't this working, right? That's because the way you're getting information is changing. So you are getting stripped of those ways that involve control, that involve micromanaging, anything like that, obsessive thinking. Now that could feel like it's stronger or getting louder, but where it's really trying to direct you here, right, is away from anything that feels like this and toward this visionary energy of the Chariot and the Two of Wands. Now these two cards I feel like go together so brilliantly. They share similar colors, they share similar energetic frequency, which is really interesting, right? Because where the Eight and Nine of Swords are all about feeling claustrophobic and kind of stuck, and there's no landscape, there's no context, there's nothing to really put your foot on. The Chariot and the Two of Wands have these big open landscapes. You know, there's openings, and there's these balancing pillars that are working with these two energies. So they're doorway cards. Now the Chariot is about deep commitment, about love, about connection, about emotive depth, and doing that with vision. Whereas the Two of Wands is about inviting the daydream in, right? And I think the thing that's interesting about Chariot and Two of Wands is, yeah, you can get specific about the vision of where you want to go in life and what you want that to look like. You can get very specific about that. But the Chariot and the Two of Wands tends to work in such expansive ways that we can see, okay, I can feel emotively what I want to connect in with, what I want my lifestyle to look like. I can have like a big, but how am I going to get there? These energies aren't going to give you that, but they are going to ask you to trust in a little bit more. This is kind of about agreeing to go in here, right? It's about making an agreement. It's about saying yes to something, not having everything figured out, which, like I said, can sometimes make this energy right here kick up a notch, because you get in bed at the end of the day and you're like, oh my gosh, am I making the right choice? I can't see. I need my plan. I don't have a plan, and yet this energy is so strong. It's so full. It's pulling you forward. It's pulling you into the next dynamic part of your life, right? I think Virgos are going to have huge hits of energy when it comes to love, when it comes to connection, when it comes to lifestyle, when it comes to that big, bold vision. And also your internal home space as well. So these are tied together. Your internal home space and your big, bold vision are really tied together in November. And that's part of what this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is going to be doing with us. I mean, not to mention the fact that the second half of the month, the energy really starts to move into Sag. And as we have the Sun moving into Sag on the 22nd, Venus and Jupiter conjunct in Sagittarius on the 24th, and a new moon in Sagittarius on the 26th, all of those energies are highlighting your internal mystic cosmic home space, your anchoring, your root. And there's something going on with you all getting a huge dose of healing within that. And I say healing because there's this sense of release of resistance. And I think that what often happens, what I've noticed with times where we're getting infused with really positive, good, nurturing, long-range energy in our lives, when it's a phase like that, when we've maybe come through a phase where we haven't been having those, we've been having more of the challenge contrast lessons, right? And we're starting to come into a phase where we're getting influxes of really nurturing, soft energy. The first thing that happens is we feel fear and resistance to it, because maybe for several months or a couple years or something, you may have been learning in different modalities, and now this new phase is coming in, and it's like, how can I trust this? I better sleep with one eye open, because if I just relax into this, lo and behold, a week from now, it'll all disappear again. And that's what these next cards are speaking to. You know, if I just show all four of these, the second half of this month and as we move into Sag season, this is what it's all about. And don't let these cards make you think of like heaviness or harshness or lack. What's actually happening here is you're growing and you're changing and you're welcoming in new vistas, and it is causing you to sit with any capacity limits you've put on yourself in the past. So Judgment is one of my favorite energies. And the other thing to keep in mind here, you know, Judgment with the Lovers, is Neptune is going direct in your opposing sign of Pisces. And you as Virgo, you have like this grounded mystic energy, and your oppositional Pisceans are the watery mystic energy. And it's balancing you out with relationship. And it's giving you all this nurturing information from that long Neptune retrograde, which was going on for 6 months. Now, as it goes direct and as we're in Sag season, we're in that fourth house energy, what happens is we have Judgment and the Lovers. Judgment is about release. It's about feeling a weight coming off of your shoulders. And I find it really interesting that it's called Judgment, because what that energy is actually about is about releasing judgment. Releasing judgment on stories, releasing judgment on the past, releasing judgment or fears, releasing old dead storylines as well, and not worrying about them so much. And the Lovers, you know, is about that connectedness. It is about that communicativeness. It's about finding your voice within that. And the only way you're going to feel deeply connected to others is if you are willing to show this part of yourself, this judgment part of yourself. That I think sometimes Virgos, because you want to have a good front, because you want to be pulled together, because you want to keep the ship running in life, it's very scary to show your judgment side. And I'm not talking about like judging people. I'm talking about the judgment side being where you get scared, where you feel vulnerable, where you feel like you don't have your protective armor on, and people can see that you desire these things, that you love these things, that you care, that you have this big, bold vision. It's really intimate to let people know, the right people know in your life, about vision, right? About what you see for yourself, about what you feel for yourself. And this is hitting into the squishy goodness of your hearts this month. And that's where we're having this assessment and this redefinition of your storyline, and why it's so important and why that's pinging up is because, Four of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, right? This is like you're moving along, you're building something, you're going forward. You can feel it working. You can feel it happening. You know this is all going on its path, right? And these are those points where you stop and you say, whoa. Am I allowed to do this? Do I have enough value to do this? Do I want to do this? What do I want to actually harvest? They're big assessment points, right? And they can both turn into resistance. They can both turn into planting your heels in and saying, I'm not doing this. But they can also be really useful if you're listening, right? Because what I see here is 4 cards in a row of expansion, like big expansion. And then I see a moment of saying, okay, if I say yes to this 9th house, Taurus full moon kind of visionary energy, if I say yes to this life, I'm not going to know how that's all going to play out 6 months or a year from now. I'm not going to be able to have all the details sorted, but my life trajectory is going to change. How do I feel about that? And I think these are actually really valuable points in the process because, one, we can hear out any self-limiting beliefs that we have about our value or our potential or what we're allowed to do that maybe we got programmed in when we were 4 or 12 or 20, whatever, right? We can hear those out and we can say, oh, that's not valid anymore. That's one way. 2, we can sit for that moment and really know we're making the agreement from a heart space. And that we've taken that moment to say yes from an authentic place of enoughness and not just from trying to rush around just having an answer one way or another. And that's the thing with this month. That's the thing with the Mercury retrograde. That's the thing with the energies, the way they're working with you, is that it's like, okay, instead of trying to have a whole bunch of activity all month, every day, all day, we slow you down. We're going to have you go into these really deep places of quality, of connection, of deep diving. And then what you come out with, what you're saying yes to, what you're connected and committed into, will really be the stuff of long-range building. And not only that, but that is an emotional journey of release of resistance, of release of old storylines. And that is really what's going on with Virgos. And the crux of that is trusting your body, trusting your intuitive sense, and giving yourself that nurturing. So I have a few affirmations for November for you all. Here we go. I have energy and clarity for everything that I want to align within me perfectly. I slow down and I allow beautiful connections to unfold. I have everything I need in this moment. My body is working and helping me to create my vision of the future. Because this is an emotionally deep month and a mentally rewiring kind of month for Virgos, it's just, and this is an ongoing process, but this month just has some energy for you in this department. Your physical body needs time to incorporate all of that emotional change as well. So we think of like having maybe a day where we have an aha moment as being just a mental thing, and then we wonder why we're tired for a couple of days afterward. That's why. So that's where I was saying in the nourishing, making sure you're giving yourself that love, really practical love, not skipping yourself in that journey, and not doubting that all of that's going on internally. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to be sweet and soft with yourself. It's okay to get information from the slowness. from the quiet. It's not that things are actually slow, and that's the other thing. You may be perceiving life as really slow, but it is extremely rich, and it is moving you forward and propelling you forward at huge speed this month. So it's one of those weird tricks of the eye almost, where it seems like everything's really slow, but actually everything's happening really intensely and really expansively. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in hearing more about the Mercury retrograde, I'm going to be doing a video on my Patreon for that. We're just going to sit with this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. It's a really important retrograde, and these water retrograde, Mercury retrogrades, which we're having right now, we're in a cycle of Mercury retrograding in water signs, are taking us to a very deep place every time. So this has a different flavor than a lot of Mercury retrogrades in the other elements has. So if you're interested in that, go check out my Patreon. We do all sorts of fun stuff over there, including weekly astro write-ups, and I'm going to be adding in some of my personal stories about connecting with different energy levels and just my whole personal experience. So any of that sounds good to you, you can join me over there. We have such a great time. I'm sending you all so much love. Have a beautiful November, and I will see you for more beautiful things with the Moon Magics and in December. Can you believe it? Wow. Mwah.